Take a breath, take a breath, take a breath. Looks like we finally have the final 53-man roster. We have the cuts, everything. We're going to go over both of those. A big trade the Eagles made for a fourth tight end. And obviously, we're going to go over this roster, dissect it, and big news on special teams because I don't know what they're doing here because it looks like they're revamping the whole entire special teams unit when it comes to specialists and punter and what possibilities could be made. And some words from Howie Roseman of encouragement. So there's a lot going on here. And don't freak out. Don't panic over this whole entire roster right now because a lot more moves, a few more moves are coming for this roster. Changes are going to be made within another 24 hours. So definitely relax. Let's go over this whole thing.
Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
Yo, what is going on, guys? I hope everyone's having a fantastic day. So we're going to go over, obviously, the roster, the 53-man roster. We're going to go over the cuts. We're going to go over and kind of dissect everything and what could be available for us, regarding certain positions. Some words from Howie Roseman at the end of this whole thing, too, which I'm actually pretty pumped because Howie Roseman is still doing his due diligence as of right now. So for the Eagles cuts as of right now, for the cuts in general of the whole entire cuts, we have Devin Allen, Quentin Bell, Ian Book, Kennedy Brooks, Robert Cooper, Britton Covey, Mecky Gardner, Julian Good-Jones, Jaden Hazelwood, Teron Jackson, Tyree Jackson, Kyron Johnson, Johnny King, Tyreek Maddox-Williams, Tristan McCollum, Nicholas Morrow, Joseph Nagata, Janarius Robinson, Tyrese Robinson, Brady Russell, Olive Salingapulu, Caleb Sanders, Josiah Scott, Josh Sills, Aaron Sipos, Freddie Swain, Ben Van Sumeren, Kevon Wallace, Greg Ward, and Marvin Wilson. So interesting cuts there. And we kind of went over a little bit the other day. Greg Ward is definitely one that we were, hoping that he was going to make the roster, but obviously they just flat out released him. He will not return. I can't see him coming back to the Eagles on the practice squad. If he has an opportunity, I honestly think he should just take it somewhere else just because Nick just doesn't value him unless he's coming back to be a punt returner or something like that, which we'll get into that really soon, is going to be interesting. Linebacker Ben Van Sumeren, he'll probably come back to practice squad. Kevon Wallace, it looks like he is not going to be back with the Philadelphia Eagles as of right now. Apparently, he is garnering a lot of interest, had a very good camp. I don't know how, obviously, I don't know. The Philadelphia Eagles, with Edmonds, how he made it over Kevon Wallace. I honestly don't know, but Kevon Wallace is going to garnish a lot of interest elsewhere. So that's going to be interesting. Joseph Nagata at wide receiver. He'll probably come back to the practice squad. So I'm not really worried about that too much. But really everything else here, I actually didn't mind. Besides, we'll get into the special teams after we go through the 53-man roster because I think that's a big problem going forward. So as your final 53-man as your slated 53-man roster right now, it could change in another day and more moves could be made, but as is right now, your quarterbacks are Hurts, Mariota, and McKee, which is obvious. I know a lot of people are not high on Mariota right now. Running backs, Gainwell, Swift, Penny, and Scott. We knew they were keeping 4 running backs. That is obvious. Wide receiver, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins, and Oz. And only 4 receivers, which a lot of people were kind of like, why are they only keeping 4 receivers? I think maybe a change will be here sooner or later for another guy. Obviously, when guys come to practice squad, who knows what happens later on. So we'll see. Offensive line, you have Johnson, Mulata, Kelsey, Juergens, Dickerson, Johnson, Opeta, Steen, and Driscoll. And yes, we're talking about Freddie Johnson and Lane Johnson, 2 Johnsons, obviously. Defensive tackle, we have Cox, Davis, Carter, Williams, Tupelutu, Street, and Ojomo. The edge, you have Graham, Sweat, Smith, Reddick, Barnett, and Johnson. Linebackers, Dean, Cunningham, and Ellis. Only 3 linebackers. And there's a good answer for that. Cornerback, Slay, Bradbury, Maddox, Job, Ringo, Eli Ricks made the roster, guys. I'm so happy. And Mario Goodrich that had a very, very good camp. Actually, Mecky Gardner got cut. See if he makes it back to the Eagles practice squad. It's going to be really tough for him to make it back, but he played so well. But Can't deny Eli Ricks on Alec Pierce and Michael Pittman, what he did in that game, the pick 6 against Baltimore. He's just got really good sticky coverage. Obviously went to the combine, or at least his pro day, didn't really do too well in his 40 time, and people thought he was slow, and obviously dealt with injuries from LSU to Alabama, and was projected, was one of the best cornerbacks in college last year, and a humbling experience for Eli Ricks, because he was one of the best players last year in college, and really humbled himself, and having to really climb up that roster a little bit, and he's done a fantastic job. You have safety Blankenship, Brown, Evans, and Edmonds. Seems like they like Evans a lot for special teams and as a backup safety. And obviously, Terrell Edmonds, which he could lock down as a linebacker as well. They can move him around a little bit. Maybe they feel like they have more value in him. And then you have special teams Elliott and Lovato. Okay, so really nothing crazy here where you're only keeping 4 wide receivers. It's kind of unheard of. I think with linebacker, only 3 linebackers right now, it's tough because if one guy goes down, you're kind of screwed right now. So you don't have Nicholas Morrow. Nicholas Morrow did not have a bad offseason, but it wasn't the best. And obviously Dean is the slated man that's going to be the quarterback of the defense. Cunningham has probably been one of the most underrated free agents that we signed. And, they didn't even play him that finale preseason game, going to play really well. And I think what we have to really go into the linebackers, if they're only carrying 3, is because they have other off-the-ball linebackers, because they're going to use Nolan Smith and off-the-ball coverage. It's going to happen, and that's a reason why they're not going after a Patrick Queen, or they're making a trade for a linebacker in general. They obviously signed 2 free agents. Miles Jack retired, and Zach Cunningham came in and played phenomenal, which they kept him immediately, which is great. Very happy for Zach Cunningham a lot. But like I said, it's going to come down to the off-the-ball linebackers. They're going to use guys. Nolan Smith is going to be a pure edge rusher this year. They're going to use probably Josh Sweat there. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. But you got to see that their mindset going into linebacker is they have some defensive ends that could cover and do some different things. So if you need Nolan Smith as that Sam linebacker, that's where you're going to have him. And it's obvious. Okay, the cornerback room is obviously really deep right now with Slade, Bradbury, Maddox, Jobe, Ringo, Ricks, and Goodrich. Seems like Jobe has been the replacement outside guy for Bradbury or Slay. Ringo needs more improvement on his tackling, needs more improvement on a little bit of coverage, but I think he will be fine. Zach McPherson's out for the whole entire year, guys, so you don't have your nickel cornerback. So obviously Mario Goodrich has had a very strong camp. 2 really strong preseason games, and he's done a fantastic job. Josiah Scott is gone, so that covers that. And Eli Ricks, guys, I am telling you, there is a fantastically good chance that Eli Ricks could be your future, man. I'm not saying he's perfect, but he's done a lot more than I figured that I thought he was going to do. Like, I thought throughout training camp, Eli Ricks, nothing was going on. Got into these preseason games and just did fantastic, especially that finale preseason game, which is the best one because the Colts kept their starters out. He covered Michael Pittman. He covered Alec Pierce. Sticky coverage. He's got those long arms. Plays really good. You know what I mean? He's not, and I'm not even saying he's fastest. He's the fastest guy I've seen, because his 40 time was not good, but his movement's really good. And I think when he's in the zone, in the mode, he just covers so well. And he pretty much faced some starters. And I said, if Eli Ricks gets, the only time I was going to rant or really rave or freak out over this whole thing was when Eli Ricks was going to be like cut from this team. I would have been so pissed. So they had to keep 7 DBs. It's a lot. But that room is so deep right now. It's really hard, to cut that down more. I thought they were going to keep 6, but they love that DB room so much they had to keep 7. You got to think about it, though. And then you have Isaiah Rodgers that's suspended for the year, that he's going to come in, and he was a high-graded cornerback last year as well, and he won't play till 24. So there's a lot of pieces coming in, and where they don't have to pay a cornerback in another couple years, and one of these guys might be able to step in right into that role. And Eli Ricks is definitely top of the food chain when it comes to coverage and instinct and just dog mentality and fight back. I just love his attitude, and honestly, he's a Alabama guy, so an LSU to a Alabama guy. So that group is Fantastic. I'm really I don't know. As of right now, I'm really surprised that Kevon Wallace did not make this roster. As much as he's been a lot of all talk, no play his first 3 years, I feel, or at least he made some plays last year, a few plays last year when he got some games. But when it comes down to it, like I thought Kevon Wallace did play better than Terrell Edmonds. And I think Justin Evans is more valued for special teams as well. They've had him at punt return. They've had him, as a safety as well. And he could play nickel too because he's played nickel in his career. But I don't think the Eagles have even put him there yet. And obviously Edmonds, could play some inside, outside linebacker. They can move him up for run support. They could move him around a little bit if they really want. So, but Wallace had a really strong camp, and it looks like he's not going to return. John Clark put out a tweet saying that he's garnering a lot of interest right now from other teams, and it looks like he's not going to make it. As for the waiver wire for the Philadelphia Eagles, they're like last in line when it comes to they're the last team on the waiver wire. So it's going to be interesting. I think this is good. This wasn't, my cup of tea because I didn't think they were going to keep 4 tight ends as well, which we'll kind of get into that too, which I think is really important. The Eagles signed Albert Okwuegbunam. I'm just going to say Albert O because I'm never going to say this guy's name right. Okay. So since the Eagles are last on waivers, they go to trade for a tight end, but this isn't just a normal tight end. This is a tight end / hybrid wide receiver because he runs like a 4.4, 4.49, something like that. Okay. Now he was a 4th round pick in 2020, played in 26 career games, 7 starts. Okay. He's 25, 6'5", 258, 4.49. It's absolutely insane. Had a good preseason this past preseason as well. Played in 8 games in 8. So he had 33 receptions for 330 yards and 2 touchdowns in 2021. Now, he only played in 8 games in 22. He caught 10 passes for 95 yards and a touchdown. And he is in the final year of his rookie deal as of so far right now. So, yeah, I mean, from what I've seen so far, the guy can get separation, guy can catch. The guy is fast for a tight end. This guy could be our fifth wide receiver. That's how crazy it is right now. And you know what? I don't know. They must. I don't know if they didn't cut Calcaterra, they didn't cut Stahl, so they're really keeping 4 tight ends. Maybe there's just more value. I know he's got big value in blocking. His blocking is 100% elite, very good. And what type of chances is he going to get? So it's just going to go for this year, and then obviously they'll see what they do with him going into next year. If they feel like he could beat out Jack Stahl, or he could be, they might sign him to an extension. Obviously, not a big extension, but he could be probably the fastest of the tight ends that we have and get separation very nicely. Like I said, blocking is very elite. I mean, 6'5", 258 is absolutely insane, and very happy. So this was the one trade. Now, this had to have been a trade. The Eagles gave up a 2025 6th-round pick. Who cares? We got him for nothing pretty much, okay? They gave up a 25 6th-round pick. They ended up getting a 25 7th. So they got a 7th for the 25 draft, which, I mean, you're talking about 2-3 years from now. Like those picks are nothing. I mean, those picks are nothing. So I don't if this guy went off waivers, he wouldn't have came to us. There's no way he would have lasted. He had way too much value. The Eagles probably went up to them and said, "Look, we want to make this trade, make it go down instead of putting him off waivers. You guys get a draft pick for the future. So who cares?" And it didn't cost much. And I think this is a big low risk, high reward type move. And I know I say that with a lot of players, but Howie Roseman has been hitting on undrafted free agents. He's been hitting on free agency. He's been hitting on guys through the waiver wire, and he's done it. He's done it plenty of times, and it just keeps going up and up. And I think adding a 4th tight end is obviously a little too much, but interested to see how they use him this year and what they're going to do. So, in case you have an injury and you need to move some guys around, or you want to, you know what I mean? So he's got size to him, which is great. So I thought this trade was fantastic. I think there's going to be more than just this, maybe more depth. I don't think there's going to be a big, signing for a big contract money or anything like that, but this is a good start. Like I said, 4 tight ends are kind of a lot right now, but I'm not going to make a big deal about it. I think they made a fantastic trade they got him for nothing. I mean, really for nothing. So I totally get it. Now, the special teams is where I'm going to get a little kind of crazy right now. And obviously, Aaron Sipos was released. Okay. And thank God. I mean, when Aaron Sipos got released, it was like the Eagles won the Super Bowl all over again. That's how much people were literally just rejoicing and celebrating after this because he's been horrible. It's been horrible. T.Y. Zentner and him, horrible punters. So the rumor is, as going into tomorrow, they're going to try out some punters tomorrow. And one that I think we really need to try out because I don't know punters too much, okay, when it comes to what's around the league right now. Towards that whole thing. But Matt Ariza, his agency, there was a tweet that was sent by Eagles Nation to talk about, we need Matt Ariza. We need to try to get him in for a tryout because Matt Ariza only had a tryout with the Jets, and then that was pretty much it. So Matt Ariza now, his agency called JL Sports actually retweeted the Eagles Nation tweet about Matt Ariza. Okay, so maybe his agency will call the Eagles, say, hey, like, can he try out? I don't know if the Eagles know. The Eagles obviously know he's a free agent. He's not with the Bills anymore. He is a free agent, and he's an innocent man as of right now. So, the Eagles like giving second chances to guys that have had background things happen. Like, they like giving guys second chances, and I think this would be a perfect fit for the Philadelphia Eagles. This guy can kick perfectly. I think this would be perfect. This would bring our special teams to a whole nother level. So we're going to find out what happens with this situation with the punters, but thank God. Now, it says that if they try out some other punters, they don't work out, they'll bring Sipos back after the practice squad. Howie Roseman said at the press conference, literally after the 53-man roster was assembled, he said that, we'll probably put Aaron Sipos on practice squad. No. There's no way it's happening. I don't care what he says. He's not going to say anything bad about any players, so I don't care what he says. This guy is not coming back to Philadelphia, and he's not punting another ball. I don't care, okay, if he holds the ball well for Jake Elliott. Sorry, Jake, but you have to get over the fact that you need to learn how to get a better holder, or a different person's going to have to hold for you. If you're a kicker for years to come, okay, for the Eagles, you're going to have different guys that are coming in. Different punters are going to come in. You never know what you're going to have. But Matt Ariza is definitely one that's going to be on the map. I'm actually waiting to see if they actually get him on a plane to go try out for the Eagles tomorrow or the next day, whatever the case may be with that. But not even just that, but returners in general. Britton Covey, well, most likely he was released. He was released really early today, but hopefully comes back to practice squad. I think we do need Britton Covey. The Eagles only kept, obviously they only kept 4 wide receivers on this roster. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I guess they figured, let's just release him. Let's see what happens. He comes back to practice squad, and most likely they'll move him up to the active roster 3 times, and then he'll be stuck on the active roster the whole entire year. So, you know what I mean? That was a little bit of a surprise. I think more of a surprise was, obviously, Devin Allen was released as well, man. I mean, after that showing, and you know what? I can't put this on Devin Allen. I can't put it on him. He got released. Hopefully, he cuts through waivers. Hopefully, thank God, and I hope he does. Okay? If he gets through to the practice squad, I'm definitely going to obviously have the update on who's on the practice squad. And he's got to make it because I feel like there's something there with him because really, if who's not your kick returner or your punt returner, then who is it going to be? I think Covey will be back. I'm not really worried about that too much because I don't want Greg Ward to punt return. I definitely don't want Devontae Smith. I swear to God, like that scares me because God forbid it only takes one hit for a guy to get injured. Devin Allen was thrown into kick return the last preseason game. He didn't do kick returns the whole entire training camp at all. He didn't touch the damn, he didn't do nothing. Devin Allen said after a press conference, after that finale game, he said, I haven't returned a kick return in 7 to 8 years. So, which is telling me that the Eagles have not even attempted to put him at kick return. And he's not getting any opportunity. And the guy has got some speed. I want to just see what his vision looks like. And even, going to his left, breaks one tackle, go to his right. And then the defenses are literally taking angles at him on the sideline, and he's just that fast. Why wasn't this guy given more opportunity? And if he shows back up, because, I don't know, Justin Evans might do punt return, kick return, I don't know. They might throw Oz there, which Zacchaeus might, because he's got that burner mentality. So he's got the burner feet to him. Boston Scott only had one good kick return last year. I think he only had one against the Bears. That was it. But the blocking schemes weren't great. And Michael Clay is just, I can't blame Nick. It's going to be on Michael Clay for this whole thing. Like, they put Trey Sermon at kick return. I mean, they put the most random people that I know are not, like, you're wasting time, you're wasting snaps, you're wasting opportunity. Devin Allen in that last game, since Covey was still out, Devin Allen should have, okay, he should have been a punt returner and a kick returner. He kick returned a couple times, and he actually got some positive yards out of it, which is great. I mean, there's guys available. There's a couple guys out there. They're waiting somebody on waivers. I don't know. I mean, there's a few guys. There was Trent Taylor was another guy from the Bengals that got released, and he's a pure punt returner. That averaged 14.5, 20 plus yards a punt return. I mean, just crazy, So I don't think they're waiting on anybody off waivers. I think they're expecting Devin Allen and Britton Covey to go through waivers, get back to the Eagles practice squad, and then I guess move them up. Unless for kick return it's different and they want Boston Scott and Quez Watkins back there, which I'm not really interested in that at all whatsoever. Boston Scott, I might just give him another chance, but I think I've seen enough already, with this group. So I think that, and then what happens? What happens when you sign a punter? Who are you getting rid of on this roster? That's the question next. Who are you getting rid of on this roster for signing a punter? Is it Tupolutsu? Maybe? I don't know, but he's the backup nose tackle for Jordan Davis, so I don't know if they could do that. They're not getting rid of any of those cornerbacks. They're not getting rid of linebackers. They're not getting rid of, maybe Kyron Johnson goes back to practice squad. I don't know. That's really the only thing I can think of because we really need the rest of these guys on this roster. They have 4 tight ends, and it seems like Stahl and Calcaterra are not getting cut, so if you sign a punter, then who are you releasing? I don't know. Or I don't know. Who are you putting to the practice squad if you can't? I'm not really sure. So it's going to be, I think special teams is going to be, we're making a big deal out of special teams. Let's think about this real quick. The biggest thing we're talking about in this video pretty much is special teams because it's going to cost us games. As much as a lot of fans probably don't care about it, it doesn't. I'm telling you, the Eagles aren't going on, the Eagles will go on 4th down plenty of times this year, but I'm telling you right now, like, we're going to get something is going to cost us a game because of our third part of the game, which is special teams. And it scares me a little bit. I'm not going to lie. So I'm hoping Devin Allen, Covey get back to the practice squad. And then, whatever goes on with this punter competition or whatever's going on, Aaron Sipp, there's no way that they bring him back. There has got to be somebody out there. I'll take a punter from, I don't care where. There's obviously a list out there. Okay, I wish there was a list on Twitter. I actually tried looking for a punter list, punter free agents. I don't see any as of right now. So that's going to be interesting going forward, and, we'll see what happens. Now, interesting enough, when it comes to this roster, even Howie Roseman even said, like, fans cannot panic over this whole thing. We don't have enough linebackers. We don't have enough, people are starting to freak out over it. And I understand why. I'm not worried about linebacker because of Nolan Smith and using other defensive ends as off-the-ball linebackers. There's a plan that goes into just keeping 3 linebackers. I totally get that. But Howie Roseman at that press conference says, Eagles roster for the next 24 hours is fluid, and that front office will be aggressive as soon as they go upstairs following the press conference. So I really like that. So they're going back to work, guys. This roster is not fully finished yet because just remember, we made late trades for Chauncey Gardner. We made late trades for guys. So things could happen. They have a ton of draft picks next year. They can do whatever they want. They got a ton of they got 10 draft picks next year. You know what I mean? They're not going to make a big, crazy move, but you never know within the next couple weeks what could happen here. You know what I mean? So I would give it time, and we'll see what happens with all that of what's really going on. Now, Jonathan Taylor is going to be an interesting one going forward. Now, Jonathan Taylor was not traded at all. Seems like Miami had a lot of interest. They were pushing, and apparently there was some big mystery team that was involved. But what makes no sense to me is they actually since they couldn't get a trade done, they put him on the PUP list. They literally screwed him over to not even play this year. So he'll be out like 4 games. So on this PUP list, he's going to be out like 4 games, not because he's injured. I don't think the injury is real at all. I think they're just putting Jonathan Taylor in his place, and maybe before the trade deadline, they'll get something done for him, maybe. So I think the Eagles did make the phone call, But unfortunately, they were trying to drive the price up so much on Jonathan Taylor, like that there was a team that was going to pay him market value. And I don't know what the market is, but it can't be like, I know he wanted like $16 million a year. That definitely wasn't going to happen. Coming off an injury last year, wasn't a season-ending type like ACL or Achilles. But, you know, I'm glad they stayed away from this. I didn't want to give up a day 2 pick or whatever the hell they were asking. I wasn't interested in it whatsoever, was not. So that's with the Jonathan Taylor stuff. We could probably put that stuff to bed. So as of right now, this is the roster as is. I could talk about a few other things, but I'm not going to go crazy because I definitely want to wait a day, let this kind of marinate a little bit, and then kind of go into, obviously, the rest of this roster, kind of go into, you know, players that are available that are still out there that maybe were up for trade, that are free agents. We'll have more videos on stuff like that tomorrow. But if you lasted over 25 minutes of this video of the final 53, all the cuts, the Albert O signing trade, and some other things that we're dissecting this roster a little bit, what they're going to do for special teams, all the special teams when it comes to return specialists and punters. So we'll know a lot more information by tomorrow. And if you last this long, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like the video for more Eagles updates every single day. We're getting closer to the regular season. This roster is not fully finished yet. It may seem like it, but it's not. Howie Roseman says he's still being aggressive. Still going to get a lot more done. Just depending on what they're going to do here is going to be interesting. I know punter is the #1 problem right now. It's definitely the #1 problem in my book. And that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing because I'm not worried about anything really offensively or defensively right now. But linebacker, not worried about it. But, you know, we won't get into all that. But we already kind of went into it anyway. So you guys have a great day. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Shakes, what up? Follow side. Peace out, guys. Peace.